Peanuts Mountain Resort, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, and the Dominica Electricity Services, DOMLEC. Okay, so when you're ready. When you're ready.
Joshua's got a new football, said Luke. He brought it to school today. Can I have a new football? You've got a football, said Mom, but it's old, whined Luke. Jack had it before me. Jack was Luke's brother, or rather one of his brothers. Luke had 3 brothers and a sister, and they were all older than him. There's nothing wrong with your football, said Mom. Hurry up, it's past your bedtime. Luke pulled off his red jumper. He felt hot and cross. I hate this jumper, he muttered. It's old too. The red jumper was even older than the football. It was a hand-me-down. It had belonged to all of his brothers, first Adam, then Wade, then Jack. Even his sister Beth had worn it for a while. Luke threw the jumper onto his toy box. I hate all of my toys, he growled. They're all too old. His toy box was full of battered cars, boxes with no lids, mixed up jigsaws, and games with bits missing. That was the trouble with being the 5th child in the family. He never got anything new. His clothes were old, his toys were old, his books was tatty and full with jammy fingerprints. His bike was scratched and battered. Joshua's got a new bike, said Luke longingly. Can I? No, said Mom. Joshua's got a new racing car, he began. Well, I can't buy you one, said Mom, before he even had time to ask, but then she smiled. I got something new. Look, nice new pajamas with dinosaurs on. Luke stared at them. He recognized those dinosaurs. They're not new at all, he wailed. I don't want those. Wade used to wear them. They're horrible.
And that was reader number 1, Abigail Barron from the Paybush Primary School. She's 9 years old and in grade 4. And she says the game of nouns is something she enjoys playing in her free time, as it helps in her spelling and knowledge of countries of the world. Coming up at number 2, we have Ariane Carbon from the Wesley Primary School in the narrative round.
Look, what's got into you? You don't usually mind wearing hand-me-downs. I hate hand-me-downs, Luke shouted. Usually, he didn't mind wearing old clothes, but Joshua had worn a brand new coat to school. It was so smart that Luke felt like a scarecrow in the old coat that Adam, Wade, and Jack had worn before him. And now he was fed up. I'm sick of hand-me-downs, he yelled. What a temper, said Mom, surprised. I'm too hot, said Luke angrily. My throat hurts. Then he sneezed 3 times. Mom felt his forehead. I think you've got Adam's cold, she said. Oh no, wailed Luke. Even my cold's a hand-me-down. Adam and Jack and Beth have all had it already. Now they've passed it on to me. It was all too much. Luke burst into tears. The next day, Luke still felt hot and tired and cross, and everything was aching. No school for you today, said Mom. You have to stay at home. Will you stay at home with me? I wish I could, she said, giving him a hug. But I have to go to work. I've rung Uncle Harvey. He's coming to look after you. Uncle Harvey was Mom's uncle, Granddad's brother. He was very tall and thin and rather old. He looked after Adam and Beth and Wade when they all had chicken pox, Mom added, and he looked after Jack when he had the flu. He's a hand-me-down uncle, grumbled Luke. Everyone else has had him first. He said he'd bring you a present, said Mom. Luke sniffed. Well, I hope it's something new.
Thank you, Ariane, from the Wesley Primary School. Let me introduce you to our first judge, Miss Gail Sensi. She holds a degree in communications and has held several positions within the telecommunications sector, administration, and human resource over the past 30 years. So Miss Gail Sensi is judge number 1. Reading for us at number 3 is Amelia Roll from the Benz Primary School.
When Uncle Harvey arrived, his white hair brushed the top of the doorway. He had a wide white mustache like an enormous extra smile. He was carrying a long, thin box. He sat down on the sofa next to Luke. Here's your present, he said in his deep voice. Luke looked at the box. It's old, he said, disappointed. He opened it anyway. Inside it lay a tube. Luke took it out. It felt cold and heavy. A telescope? Is it real? It's a real telescope, and it belonged to a real sailor, Uncle Harvey said. It belonged to your great-great-granddad. Luke pulled out one end of the telescope, and it opened out. He peered through it. It really works. That telescope saved a life, said Uncle Harvey. Whose life? Asked Luke. Your great-great-granddad's. He was a sailor called George 100 years ago. How do you know this story? Asked Luke. Did George tell you? No. He handed the story down to his son Alf, who was my dad, and Alf handed it down to me. Now I'm handing it down to you. I'm glad George didn't drown, said Luke. Do you know any more stories about him? Lots, said Uncle Harvey. George ran away to sea when he was just 14, and he told Luke stories about sharks and sails and gales and whales. While Luke looked through the window with his telescope, at last he saw Mom coming down the road. Here's Mom. Will you come back tomorrow, Uncle Harvey? If you're still not well, said Uncle Harvey. Will you bring me a present? What sort of present? Something I can look in, like a telescope, said Luke.
Thank you, Amelia. She is from the Benz Primary School. Up next, at number 4, we have Destiny Lewis from the Temple SDA.
Next day, Uncle Harvey brought a present. It was nothing like a telescope. For a start, it was much, much bigger. Uncle Harvey puffed as he carried it in and put it down with a thud. "It's a doll's house," said Luke, taken aback. "I don't play with dolls' houses." "Don't you?" "Well, my father Alf did," said Uncle Harvey, "when he was little. This house belonged to Alf and his sister Edith. He unlatched the front of the doll's house and swung it open. It was made of thin wood. Inside, there were 6 rooms with wallpaper and bits of real carpet and tiny beds and chairs and tables which had fallen over. Luke reached in to set them straight again. Their father George built them this house one Christmas, Uncle Harvey said. He made those little wooden chairs and tables and the beds and a kitchen stove and a tin bath. Luke pulled out the small tin bath and gazed at it. But George didn't have quite enough time to finish it before Christmas, Uncle Harvey went on. When he gave it to them on Christmas Day, it had no carpets, it had no curtains, the beds had no blankets, and the bath had no towels. So Alf and Edith decided to do something about that. What did they do? They took their mother's best sharp scissors, and they went hunting. Uncle Harvey's voice dropped to a whisper. They went hunting. Uncle Harvey's voice dropped. Uncle Harvey's voice dropped to a whisper. First, they went hunting carpet, he said. They cut a square of red carpet from under the piano where no one ever saw. It looked very nice in the doll's house.
And that was Destiny Lewis from the Temple SDA, reading at number 4. Let us introduce you to our second judge, Paula Duran. She has been a teacher since graduating from the Convent High School in 1980 and recently retired. She says teaching and raising her 4 children are her greatest achievements and is now a proud grandmother of 3. She has served as a reading competition judge for many, many years. And I want to say a special thank you to you. She judged all of our rounds last year. She was basically our head judge last year, coming with us all over the island, judging from the preliminary rounds to the finals. And I know she's on board with us again this year to do the exact same thing. So let's give Paula Dura a round of applause as we prepare to hear from Kaylee Paris from the Lighthouse Christian Academy.
Then they hunted curtains. They snipped off the corners of their mother's dining room curtains and hung them in the doll's house windows. Next, they cut up a pillowcase to make sheets for the beds. They cut pieces out of Edith's new blue blanket, and they cut a strip of Alf's white towel. Luke peered into the doll's house. Sure enough, there were the sheets and pale blue blankets and tiny white towels. The curtains were pinned above the windows to look like real ones. "That's clever," he said. It was very clever, and when they had finished, the doll's house looked beautiful. But then their mother noticed that the corners had been snipped off her best curtains. "Oh," said Luke. At first, she didn't know who to blame.
Then she made the beds and she found the bits of pillowcase and the holes in Edith's blanket. And their father looked under the piano for something he had dropped and saw the carpet. Did they get into trouble? Asked Luke breathlessly. No puddings for a month, said Uncle Harvey. No puddings? Luke was shocked. Well, they were used to that. Alpha and Edith were always getting into trouble.